So it's great to be with Ali Angus today, exploring another fresh expression. So Ali, say a little bit about your role.
Hi, so I have got the lovely title of Eco-Missioner here at St Leonard's, and that kind of sums up the desire to think about environmental issues, explore our role in supporting the development of a good, sound, ecological approach with our mission here in Streatham.
Wonderful. And does it have a name, this fresh expression?
It does, and it's a bit of a confusing name. So it is Eco Church at St Leonard's, or Eco Church SW16 for short. And the reason why it's confusing is because an organisation called Arosha, which is a wonderful Christian environmental charity, also do something called Eco Church. But our process was that we were exploring the 5 marks of mission. And when we got to number 5, which was about preserving the integrity of creation, and people were already, part of other campaigning organisations, but they felt really strongly that there is a place for faith. Where is my faith in relationship to this? Where is God? How do I find God through and in this crisis? And so that is how Eco Church at St Leonard's was established, for the purpose of bringing those 2 pieces into conversation: our theology and our faith and the environment.
So what I'm hearing loud and clear then, that in this fresh expression, thinking about the de-churched and unchurched, it was something about these campaigners, as well as trying to think about what is a Christian theology. So the purpose of this fresh expression wasn't just about people becoming churched from being unchurched. There's something about a particular way of life. Is that right?
Absolutely, and a particular relationship to the world around us, which we might call creation or the greater than human world. It's about how we live in response to the natural world, of which we are a part. So part of the conversation is reinstating humanity back into its place as creatures and as part of creation, so that we can work in partnership in order to solve and resolve this issue and crisis, which I think comes out of that. That's lifting off of the human world being something distinctive and separate.
Okay. And so in terms of how it works then, so what sort of activities do you get up to as part of this being an eco kind of fresh expression, Eco Church?
Yeah, I watched a video called Kiss the Ground, which was just completely mind-changing, paradigm-shifting for me, about the place of the earth in actually, resolving and helping, and the fact it's full of life and what we can do with it. And so a lot of what we do at Eco Church is actually to work with the acre of land that we have been gifted in Streatham. And we started by building a bug hotel together. So that was an act of hospitality to the insects and the pollinators. And then we realised actually very quickly that we didn't have any of those. So it was a bit like inviting someone to tea and there was no tea. So we have been very consciously wanting to develop the biodiversity of the plant life in order to build the biodiversity of who and what comes in to the churchyard to live here, to be with us, as part of our relationship, building our relationship with the earth and with our neighbours that are. And the bonus of that has been that it is also beautiful, and it's, the churchyard is a little less tidy than it was, wild around the edges, but it's also just full of life. You know, there are things buzzing and flying, and, you know, the word is out that there is food here and hospitality to be had. And that says something to our wider community, human community of care, you know, that this is a place of care and love. And I think people experience that. And certainly as I've been out there, people come alongside and they want to do a bit, and they want to dig a bit, and they want to bury something. They're happy to help take out weeds and to plant seeds and to be, you know, to be in relationship to the soil.
And so are these local residents, or, you know, where are these people coming from, and what do they think about Christians doing this sort of thing?
It's a real mix of people, and we have what might be described as a very low threshold, and that working together enables that to be a very safe way of just, you know, people coming alongside. So it's a lot of our neighbours. It's some of the people who live in the churchyard, or who frequent that space because they're homeless. This is their home, and so very often those people are saying to me, thank you for what you're doing. It's lovely to be here. It's some people from St Leonard's congregation, and from other churches. So it's a real kind of mix. So as we gather formally once a month on a Saturday, and we have a kind of regular group that come to that gathering, and they tend to be people who found out from flyers or from various other means, and a mix of people from St Leonard's. We have had some people who are, we might describe as unchurched, who have come to faith, and people who just pass through, and it's part of an experience that they have, and I hope therefore a blessing to them and to their lives. And I think that the local community, they love it actually, and despite its messiness, people have said to me that they've never seen the churchyard looking so beautiful. There is real beauty in that, that expression of life. It's reflective of our human condition somehow, full of pretty things and intentional things and some wild things and some things that just happened upon the way and, you know, fit into the mix.
And for you, what makes this initiative a fresh expression of church for you, thinking about mission and evangelism? So what for you makes this a fresh expression?
I think fundamentally it is church, because we do all that we do in the name of Jesus Christ. That this is a way of telling the story of salvation. So it is part of what's lovely is that we're working around graves. So those graves tell a story of death, and the new life and the plants tell a story of just that, you know, this song of salvation. And, you know, we have a very beautiful, it's very strange for me actually today to be talking to you from inside when actually so much of the work that I do is outside. It just happens to be quite a chaotic day. So we'd have never heard each other, but somehow I think the offering of this space back to God feels a little bit like a liturgy to me. So it is about the natural world coming into the contact with the work of human hands. That's what we're doing in this special session. And then recapitulating that to the God who has made us and brings us all back together as one.
Thanks, Ali. And what are your hopes for where you think this kind of eco-church, fresh expression of church is going?
Yeah, I mean, I think there is a real place for us. I'm invited to talk a lot about the theology of this, we have a lot of space in our society where we can explore the social issues, we can explore our individual responsibility, organisations that help us to campaign and express our concerns. We as Christians have, I believe, been called to be in relationship with all that is here. You know, when earth groans, we can listen to that groaning and we can find a way to respond appropriately in a way that does bring God and that groaning and the whole piece back into equilibrium. You know, we're out of touch, and our destruction of our planet says something about our separation from the earth, and therefore our separation from ourselves, because that's the stuff that we're made of, as well as, you know, stardust and other wonderful chemicals. You know, we are soil, we return to the soil. And it, for me, has been really amazing, just that idea of, you know, the thing that grows, then that comes into contact with the work of human hands. Because I can't make anything grow here. I can't make it grow. But I can listen and respond to what it needs and try to give it the conditions to grow. And I think that's a little bit like faith and coming to faith, or being born again, as I hope we are every time we come to the Eucharistic temple. But somehow in that space of nature, we can come into relationship with a story of God that is life, you know, salvation through incarnation. And when we feel the earth, we can feel something of the incarnation, some God who came to earth to be the stuff of it, just as we are. And we can feel the conditions for that faith to grow.
And so do you see, you know, so you've got a monthly gathering at the moment, and you've got obviously got groups doing gardening and getting their hands into the earth and all that. How do you see this growing? Do you think you're going to have more kind of worship services gathering? How is it going to grow as an expression of a missional community in context of Streatham into an expression of church? How do you see that happening for the future?
Well, I think as our land grows and develops, that we will grow and develop with it. It is my hope that as people pass here and they say it's so lovely, it's so beautiful, and we extend the invitation to be part of it, that they join and they have an experience of God here, that this is holiness, but also that they take the experience of that connection with the earth back into their other spheres of life. And I've been really touched. I used some sunflower seeds for a prayer just recently. People planted that seed as part of their prayer, and I've had pictures back of the seeds growing and them being nurtured and named, and those seeds will return to us to be planted in this garden as an expression of our togetherness. I hope that we will always have a space here where we're connecting God, earth, humanity, and that rolls and that develops. That there has been a church here in Streatham for over 1,000 years, and 1,000 years ago, this little chapel would have been in the middle of fields. You know, there would have been no road, no busyness that would have stopped us from hearing each other outside. And we're still here. And this little bit of oasis, I want it to be a blessing to this community and for another 1,000 years.
And I think that takes me to my final question. So thinking about the challenge of where you are in that connection between church and culture, and on that edge, how do you see your role as a pioneer developing in the context of this eco-spiritual fresh expression of church?
I have learned, I'm a wild extrovert, so stopping and being still and thinking and listening and developing that quietness and that stillness has been actually one of the blessings of lockdown. You know, everything slowed down and I slowed down with it. And I think that that actually is a very radical shift, that actually my busyness was expressing something of the materialism and the busyness of the world around me, rather than the stillness and the listening heart of God. That is the way that I think that we can enter. So it's perhaps surprising, or maybe surprising, to hear me say that actually that is exactly what it is that I hope I pioneer and plant for the future. A sense of connectedness, of embodiment, of listening and responding to ourselves and our relationship to everything around us, including each other, and that we use those relationships. I think that nature has a vocation. I think that it has a calling and a place that is distinctive, and that we can listen to that. I would like to see my role as being a deacon to the priestly ministry